All right. I am far from the best PvP Orbia on the server, but with the current meta of Sekhmet and Raven popping up everywhere, I thought I'd throw together a video on, specifically with Orbias, how to handle Sekhmet and Raven teams. You can see over here in the rankings, top 10, 15, we have Topa V over here, the one Orbia holding it down for the crew, but most of them are going to be Kinas and Cleaves. A lot of them are running Sekhmets, a lot of them are running Karambits. I can't beat all of them, but I can beat most of them depending on what other units are in the comp. So let's take a look at a few fights and see how to handle them, at least in the mid range of the rankings. I think some of these higher ranked people who have fully built Karambits and Sekhmets, I might have a challenge with. They don't really show up in my fight options, so I can't speak for them. But in the middle rankings, call it the 20s, 30s, 50s, I tend to not have much of a problem with the Ravens and the Sekhmets. All right, let's just go down the roster and we'll target specifically defenses that have Sekhmet and Ravens. So let's start with this one right here. The first thing is Water Staff. So you can see my accuracy is 70.6. I also have, I think, another, 15 additional accuracy if I'm above 70% health. Where is that skill? Right here. So another 20% accuracy if I'm above 70% health. So 70 from my gear, another 20 from my skill. That's 90% accuracy. So when you're facing an assassin, the assassins are going to target ranged threat first, so archers and the summoner when you're playing Orbia. The key is to use your water staff and chain your attacks, so S1, S2, S3. S1, hopefully you can land the freeze proc. S2 extends the duration of the freeze, and then S3 should take care of the Karambit or the Sekhmet if that's what you're facing. So let's take a look on how that works. I always start and I want to remember what order the monsters were placed so I can target them right away. So middle over here, that's going to be right here. So I'm going to spam click that, target my Karambit. You can see he's targeting me. I'm waiting until my S2 is up, and then I'll use S1, freeze, extend, and S3 to take care of him, right? Then I start to look at the next threat. Typically, I would go for the enemy Orbia, but my Lupinus had already taken care of her, so now I'm going to go for the Chloe. And it's as simple as that. Now, granted, that was a fairly lower ranked defense team. So let's keep going through this and see how I handle some of the more tough opponents. All right. Let's do the Ravens first, and then we'll come back and do the Sekhmets. So here's a Raven Nephthys Bastet comp. I shouldn't have much issue with this. I know a lot of people struggle with Cleaves. This strategy works as well for Cleaves as it does for Kinas and Orbias as well. My strategy here is going to be the same thing. Chain nuke the assassin. That's going to target my Orbia first. Then I'm going to go down to the Nephthys. The Bastet and the Cleave are going to be too tanky for me to nuke down. He doesn't have any revivers, and so it's okay for me to take these two guys down who are the biggest threats. Then I'll probably go over to the Cleave depending on how tanky he is. If he's extremely tanky and my Lupinus can't get him to maybe 70% health by the time I'm done with these two guys over here, I might go for the Bastet instead. So once again, water staff, run away a little bit, target the Raven, chain your skills to nuke him down. He's number 3, so I'm gonna target this over here. S2 is up, freeze, extend, and kill. Nephthys is already down, so only one threat left. And I'll switch over here to my light staff just to help a little bit with the endure. Lupinus's skill can break the endure, but the endure is going to get a buff soon, so I need to start practicing using my light staff to strip endures. So that was fairly easy. I think that opponent had a higher team power than mine did, so that's a good example of taking down a Cleave that's running a Karambit. Let's keep going. Okay, so what's this person's name? So Dark Mermaid, I think, is a reviver. So this is going to be a new challenge versus the other two that we just saw. Let's see here. Crit res up, attack down. Okay, yeah. So this is I think it's a 24-second revive with a large heal behind it. So Beta is one of the most annoying revivers to play against because it significantly takes down my damage if I get debuffed and then revives and heals in the same skill. So it's a much better version of Tion, in my opinion. Strategy is not going to change here, though. I'm going to nuke down the Karambit and then most likely take down the Beta. Most Betas that I faced have been fairly squishy, so I'm not too afraid of the revive. You do need to be very aware of the battlefield, though, because if Beta revives the Karambit, you need to refocus on the Karambit. The Cleef is using his Dark Staff, so the Endure might give me some trouble, but because I am taking down the squishier units first, it really shouldn't be a problem. Once again, Karambit is the third unit, so that's going to be somewhere over here. So I'm going to spam click here so I can target it, run away, wait for my skills to come up, and then chain nuke the Karambit. Oop, it was first. All right, so S2 is up. Didn't get the freeze. I'm not going to use the S3 because by the time my S2 is up, the Karambit will typically have his second skill up, and he jumps back during that, and so I don't want to lose the S3 that I'm going to do when the Karambit jumps back. Because the S3 is like stationary, and if the Karambit jumps back when he does his S3, then I'll miss him. So as you can see there, it was a little bit dicey at first because I didn't get the freeze proc on the Karambit, but I saved my S3. I ran around till my S1 was up again. I switched my Soul Link from Lupinus to Tion to heal myself up, and then I took down the Karambit. By that time, Lupinus had taken care of most of the other units, and then it was just single target, nuke down each of the threats after that. Let's see if there's any more Karambits here. Okay, no more Karambits, but I think you guys get the point. These assassins are a little bit tough if you don't know how to handle them on Orbia, but if you have decent accuracy, you use your water staff, you have the strategy of waiting for your cooldowns to be ready, you should be able to take down these Karambits fairly easily and then start to focus on the next biggest threat. The same strategy works for Sekhmets. Now, Sekhmets arguably is a little bit easier because they're a mage type and won't directly target your Orbia, so you don't need to run away from them quite as intently as I did with the Karambits. Now, Vanessas are definitely a problem. Vanessas have very good AI, so they will revive most of the time when there is a unit down. So you do need to probably kill the Sekhmet a few times in this comp before you have enough cooldown on the Vanessa on her revive to get Vanessa down. In this comp, my strategy is going to be take down the Sekhmet so she doesn't kill my units, especially my Lupinus. And then I'll probably start to target the Summoner, and then I'll address Vanessa. Might work, might not. I historically have had problems with Vanessa comps, so let's take a look on how that does. It's also important to note what Soul Link unit the enemy team has, because a lot of times that will be your number one threat to take down, because they're going to obviously have their skills up a little bit more. So S1, S2, and Sekhmet is down. Then I target enemy Orbia, use my Lupinus skill, take her down. So you can see Sekhmet came back up, and she's very dangerous because she can nuke the rest of your units down. So I need to take care of her. You can see that my Tion had died because of the Sekhmet, and luckily the Orbia wasn't doing enough damage to take down more of my units before I had handled the Sekhmet and Vanessa. So hopefully that was helpful for those Orbia mains out there to deal with the Sekhmet and Raven comps. These are fairly simple foundational strategies for you to take and then adjust your comp, your gameplay to be able to counter the different teams that you're going to see in Arena Challenge. Like I said, I am far from the best Orbia on the server. Topa V here is holding it down, and let's see, it's all Cleefs and Kinas. Oh wow. Okay, I guess so. We have Topa V at rank 7 as an Orbia, and then rank 27 is the next highest ranked Orbia in challenge on this server. So it is a tough road out there for Orbia mains. So we have to, stick together, teach each other some strategies and some tricks. Hopefully this was helpful to some of you. But as you can see, when we go through the ladder, the prevalence of Sekhmets and Ravens. And the Sekhmets and Ravens will usually be your number one threat. So if you can define a strategy to handle the number one threat, you can then adjust throughout the rest of the fight and in your team composition to counter the rest of the team. One thing that's been very helpful for me is I hit every single arena team on my list. I don't only hit the ones that I know I can beat. In fact, the ones that I've failed to beat multiple times, I'll still hit because I want to learn different strategies and tricks and team compositions to try and figure out how to counter that team that I can't beat. I see the Arena Challenge as a training ground for the live RTA, the brawls, because in brawl you're going to meet mostly Kinas and Cleefs, and you're going to meet very different unit comps than you see in challenge. And so being able to have experience with those different units and those different comps in the Arena Challenge where there's a little bit less pressure can significantly help you figure out how to adjust during your pick ban, during your team compositions, and during the live gameplay of a brawl match. The last thing I'll say here is I think a lot of people think PvP is only for the whales. This is a essentially free-to-play account. I've purchased the Transcendent Scroll for like $6 early on in the game, and that's it. So I won't say you can be competitive in PvP because I'm not even top 10, not even close to it. But you can definitely have fun, and you can definitely hit masters and stay at masters. And you can do fairly well in Brawl as well. I think a lot of the people taking Brawl seriously are very isolated to the highest rankings, and typically I'm not going to meet those whales. My Brawl ranking is 18 right now. You can see 14 out of 20. I think some of those were like the placement matches, but that's a fairly good ranking for an Orbia player. And I use all free-to-play units. I don't have any LD units. I don't have any units Awakened 15. In fact, my Bastet at Awakened 11 is the highest awakening I have. So just based on strategy and understanding the game, you can have fun in PvP as free-to-play as Orbia. Once again, I won't say competitive, but you can have fun. And I certainly do have fun in the PvP arena and trying to get a little bit better here and there. So that's it. I will publish a little bit more PvP content now that more people are getting geared up and taking PvP more seriously. Hopefully this was helpful for Orbia mains out there. Good luck, everyone.